And let me call them fast up. So we have Claire from Betterment. Applause. We have Ida from Twitter. She's also a GDE Android. And we have Pauline from Dosh Bank. Two of our panelists couldn't make it. Sophia couldn't make it because she's feeling sick, and one of the other one too is not feeling well. So we're gonna be having an amazing group of three here, which is gonna be awesome because it's gonna be more candid, and also we'll leave some time for Q&A. And as we sit down, I'm gonna call upon Ashley to introduce us and welcome us home.
Um, Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley. I'm a senior engineer at Betterment. I've been here for about 4 years. And this is our first event since before the pandemic, I think, our first meetup kind of event. So, really honored and grateful to be able to host everyone here for this awesome event celebrating women in technology. Um, and we're a financial wellness company. We make products that help you plan for your future. I work on our 401k team that helps employers give 401k to their employees. And we are hiring, I've been instructed to say. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Excited to hear from our panelists. And feel free to come talk to us after if you're interested in learning more about Betterment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley. And as we start, I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Madonna Wambua. I am an Android engineer. I work at Stream, and I'm also a GDE Android. I've been doing this now, I think, for almost 6 years, which is super fun. And today I'm joined by amazing ladies. But before that, I want to just appreciate a few more ladies that have helped organize this event. One of them being Anna. Anna, where are you? Oh, she's right there. There's Anna.
Thank you for your time. We are still celebrating Women's History Month all throughout April and March. And our theme is progress, not perfection. And maybe after we finish, we would like all of you to share what this means to you. It can mean different things. For me, it means to let the world see who you are. And please share on Twitter as well, because there will be prizes. And our hashtag is IWD Betterment. So that's all you need to do to enter the raffle. Share pictures, share quotes, share your thoughts. And the floor is yours, ladies.
Thank you very much. And also, we have another amazing organizer, Ruchi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is such a beautiful space. I'm Ruchi. I'm excited to meet all of you tonight. And remember, Ashley's hiring. So thank you so much. And I'm excited. Let's begin. And we're going to have such fun, a lot of fun tonight.
Thank you very much. And also the other organizer is me, and we have one more, but let's keep it going. Okay. So I'm gonna start by introducing everybody, but I will not do it myself. So I think the best introduction is done when every person introduces themselves. So I'm gonna start giving my mic to Ida.
Okay, I'm gonna be the first one to say something. um, okay, so my name is Aida. I am an Android engineer. Well, official title called Senior Android Software Engineer at Twitter. But most importantly, I'm a Google Developer Expert for Android. Been doing Android for past 7 years, and mostly I've been working in smaller startups, building the apps, different industries from like satellites, communications to fintech, and now social media. And so like there's always a interesting learning curve, which is awesome. Like different companies, different industries provide different perspectives when it comes to programming in general. And nowadays with new job, there's definitely a new exciting opportunity, like when you learn something else, like maintaining code should be its own separate course, right? Like it's completely different skill that everybody should learn. That's the stuff that I want to say.
Amazing.
Okay.
I'm Claire. I am a staff engineer here at Betterment. Oh, not on. Can you hear me? Amazing. I'm Claire. I'm a staff engineer here at Betterment, also work in mobile. I started out as an iOS developer, and we have recently started migrating to almost done migrating to Flutter. So I've been also doing Flutter development, which is really fun and interesting. So yeah, that's me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pauline Gitao. I'm an engineer at Deutsche Bank. Not so much on the Android side. I mainly work with Angular and Java side of things. So just the microservices, bit of everything. And one thing I'll say in line with improvement, not perfection, I'm learning to, embrace quote unquote the suckage. When you think you suck at something and you're like, I can't wait for the next thing. I'm learning to embrace that as I get to the next thing. Excited to be here.
Love that.
Amazing. So today's title is going to be more of just career journey interview, and then we'll have like 15 minutes at the end for Q&A if you have any questions for three amazing panelists. And without further ado, I'll jump into the first question. And the first question goes to Pauline. So what motivated you to get into technology?
So I'm from Kenya. That's not why I got into tech, but so I'm from Kenya, and when I went to high school, I didn't learn that much of. You can. Yes. So when I went to high school, I didn't do much of computer science, but I got a bit of, the zero ones and all that, which was really difficult. And then I went to Syracuse for undergrad, and at that point, I would go to classes with people who knew more tech. I was an economics major, and it was just do one class in computer science and see how it feels like. And then continuously, I took one class, then another one. So it's not the typical I always wanted to do this. It's I tried one thing, tried another thing, and then here we are, all the way from economics now, software engineering.
That's amazing. Next is going to be Ida.
Same question? Yes. Oh, okay. So what got me into technology? So I have an economics degree as well too, FYI. I have the same economics degree. But my story began a little earlier. So in my school back in Kazakhstan, what we had a computer science classes. It was a required classes to take, and we had a visual basic programming. Those like old school scripts that you write on Windows, Windows 98 especially. We used to write them, and I did really like that stuff. But there's also a part when I did like it, enjoyed doing that stuff, and when there was a time to go to university, the scholarship does affect a lot. And then because there was a moment when I chose my fifth subject to be different, to be geography, I end up in the economics class because that's where I got my scholarship from. Yeah, so like scholarship and stipend. And so I graduated and then came to America. And I thought a lot. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be living here. What things I like to do? What makes me happy? And most importantly, what are some things that I don't like it? Like just simply don't like it. So I created this Venn diagram and simply wrote down everything that I like and don't like including simple stuff like, oh, I do not like waking up early. Okay, put it there. That's not my thing. I don't want to do that. Or like, oh my God, I cannot smile for 8 hours straight. I'm not good at communicating, put it there. All these little moments of myself, it kind of helped me to learn about myself. And it also narrowed down the search for my thing, for my profession, I would say. That's how I end up in technology. And I'm like, that's a perfect condition for me.
That is amazing. I mean, I am impressed by that. And isn't it amazing that both of our ladies here are from economics, like just doing economics? What are the odds? Okay, the same question to you, Claire.
Well, this is crazy because I also have an economics degree.
Oh no. No. I'm just gonna assure all of you this is not planned. It is not planned.
It was a requirement to be here. No, yeah. So I studied economics in my undergrad, which I was like a huge fan of. Love a good liberal arts education, but didn't have like a very clear picture of what that meant once I graduated.
Mhm.
And I ended up taking a job that I just didn't find very fulfilling, and was similarly looking at like, what do I like to do? What is actually interesting to me? How can I spend every day of my life doing something that's enjoyable to me? And my husband was a computer science engineer, and he was like, I think you'd really like this, and I was like, no, you don't know me. But he did, and so I ended up looking into mobile development, got into Swift, and just really enjoyed it. It was like that great intersection of something that was interesting and engaging, and there was always a new problem to solve. It never got boring, and always something new to learn. So I ended up going to a boot camp, which was like really awesome. And
Amazing.
now I'm here. It was great.
That's amazing. A round of applause for all ladies. That's amazing. Yeah. Now, we're gonna get a little bit technical because I had amazing question that I wanted to ask Claire and our team here, and this is gonna go to you, Claire. You're a staff engineer mobile. What can you say is the biggest challenge of remote working? Because we all been exposed to working remotely due to the pandemic, and I have faced so many challenges. So I would like to learn from you, all of you, like what are the challenges that you face and how have you overcome them, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one of the big parts of my job as a staff engineer is setting, our technology, like what do we want to be doing in the future? What are we moving towards? How can we support our team? And a lot of that comes from being aware of what the challenges the team are facing, what our product engineers are struggling with, like what's causing them pain or toil in their work, which is a lot easier to kind of cue in on when you're like sitting next to them and they're like mad at their computer, but not as easy to kind of like hit when everybody's remote and you're not getting that like interaction. And so everybody kind of being remote was like kind of a nice way to figure that out because everybody was experiencing a lot of the same problems. And so a lot of what I ended up doing was just making sure that I was tuning into the right people and talking to the right people across each team, and making sure that they knew that the communication door was open and that I was proactively reaching out to understand what was needed of our team, and how we could help support that remote work. Yeah, a lot of communication. It's very important.
Amazing. Same question to Pauline.
So I started my current role. I started my current job during the pandemic. And if you had like a similar transition, you know how you're trying to form those interpersonal, connections with people, and it's all, well, be on a scrum call, you don't get to know people that much beyond, how things are going. So one of the challenges I had at that point was being more of a person beyond the deliverables, which is what you get most through a Zoom call and through Skype. And at some point, I thought it gave me more space to learn my own things. But then the challenges of your manager doesn't, you people on the other side, doesn't know you beyond how are things going, and having difficulties, like that whole boundary of. And then, so the other side of that is now that I'm in the office and my manager is there, it's almost like we are also excited to be there. And people are like, okay, we are here, let's do it. So that's something that you couldn't get when you are on the other side, just across from the screen. Yeah.
That's a very good point. And I feel like that's another challenge that I heard from a few junior developers, that it was so hard to work from home, especially when you're struggling and you can't keep calling your seniors all the time to a Zoom call and always just being there. Because I mean, they also need to work too. But if you were working like in person, you can just walk over to their desks and ask them, hey, how can I solve this? And then right now, the other biggest challenge is that you might actually send a text or, let's say, a Slack message, and then nobody replies. And you can't say they ignored it. Maybe they didn't see it, or maybe they're too busy working on their own. So it's pretty challenging for sure. Now, to you too, Ida. I feel like this is a pretty good question we need to learn from all of you.
So this is an interesting one, right? Especially again, as well like remote. I did the remote onboarding to the new company and so on. And previously, when I was tech lead in my previous company, we've been hiring a lot of people. So a lot of people were onboarding as well. What I found, again, it's not, a lot of people are, most of the times are quiet, right? Especially the new joiners, like it's not that they do not struggle or they do not have any issues with anything. It's just that they don't bring it up oftentimes, right? So what I learned, at least from my previous job, is to have a kind of hang sessions, like we would just have a like video conference open, like half day, or like at least 2 hours a day with entire team. So whoever wants can join. There's also like kind of the apps came out kind of what's called the offsite flow, or it's not the TensorFlow, offsite flow, that where you can actually pretend you're in office environment, but it's like video and camera and audio, everything is connected. So we would have that kind of stuff. And if you want to have some sort of privacy in that virtual offsite, you can actually go inside some room and lock the room so no one can hear you or see you. So like it was kind of interesting environment, but that would help us a lot as well. And then I think extensive, again, communication wise, it was a lot of extensive talking over Zoom and anything, and like doing the pair programming. I think that's what's important stuff as well for anyone who is a new hire. And me as a new hire here in new company, what I learned is to use Slack extensively. So like, let's say as a new hire, if you want to search something, find something, the first place to search should be Slack. Just ask the questions in Slack. I'm pretty sure like there's always a case when someone else who joined before you, someone else asked that question. So navigating those communication tools and learning them, it's important. Like, and then that will be enough time for other engineers who are already working and doing the features, right? So you don't need to distract them too much as well. That's the advice.
Amazing. I do have a follow-up question for you, Claire, because I'm wondering, as a staff engineers, how are you ensuring that your junior developers are well supported?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think you kind of hit on it, where it's hard to always be like the person supporting with all the questions. There's like a real need to kind of like make yourself more than you are, right? Like expand your influence without actually expanding the work that you're doing. And so a lot of that for me was, one, like making sure that I had times where I was like readily available just for helping people, that was like scheduled into my day so that I could like be there for people, but also get my work done that I needed to get done. So like office hours were like a huge thing for us across our team. And I found that really helpful. But then also like identifying people across the different teams that could then, grow into roles where they would be the person that would be the point person for their teams, and helping to like mentor and support those people, and kind of like expand my influence in that way. So there's always somebody near to their individual work that could answer questions or be supported, so that they just knew where to go. And it was like a little bit easier to reach out when it's somebody like on your team who knows kind of like what you're doing.
Amazing. That is super great, because I feel like that is what we need, especially now, because I feel like we're now in this world where we're going to be hybrid like forever, because so many companies now already have taken the initiative to be like remote first. Like my company is remote first. Like I'm remote forever unless I change my job. So now that we're even going to hybrid, it makes this even more like interesting for people who are looking for jobs. And I want to follow up, ask this question to Pauline. When you were looking for a job during the pandemic, or let's say the online onboarding and everything, can you tell us the challenges you faced, how you even went through like the interview process, how you managed to like compose yourself through Zooms, where I do know many of us here have the fear of Zoom. I have it. Like every time we're leaving the calls, it's so funny though. Every time we're leaving the calls, I try to like end it pretty quick. Everybody has left. I'm always left there like, wait, how does everybody just end this pretty quick? And I can't seem to get it right. So Pauline, question for you. How did you navigate that?
I think for that I have more perspective from the onboarding side because I did my recruiting before the pandemic.
Oh, cool.
So, but the only part I had was that whole you're a new person who's moving to a new team, and in most cases, I think when a new person, there are many things you would easily know, but you sort of still have to go at how has this been documented? Is there documentation for that thing? And then in most cases, it was if it doesn't exist, it's almost like, do you want to be the person who's going to do this documentation for the next person? And how much documentation are you going to have to do if you actually decide to be that person? So I don't have the. You might actually have more perspective on that side.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Then we will have you next.
Um, so how did I navigate the onboarding process as a remote hire? Oh, the interviews. Okay. So I actually find it quite convenient, honestly, as a software engineer in these times, having an on-site Zoom calls is very convenient because guess what? If previously during the on-sites you needed to go to some office, spend commuting, like and so on, now that time of commuting can be you can actually put it toward the other interview, other company's interview. So like, like seriously, it was quite convenient. But one thing I want to advise is importance of not making like 5-hour, 4-hour straight Zoom interviews. Always request to have minimum 15 to 30-minute breaks in between interviews. Even if it's the behavioral interview, you should have to have those breaks and you should request those breaks. And from what I know, like a lot of recruiters are very lenient toward that. So they will easily accommodate this kind of requests. So that's important. And plus also you can break up those interviews into a couple days, which is important. Like you can have one interview one day, next interview another day, and so on. So it's easy as long as you initiate the first step and request this kind of accommodation. It is important. When it comes to onboarding, again, as a new hire, the first important stuff is the communication tools, understanding and navigating those communication tools and getting to know the Slack or whatever other tool they're using, Microsoft Teams most likely, because they all have search functionality and you really have to use the search functionality quite extensively. And I usually try, like, if there's something that I get stuck on, if like, let's say 20 minutes passed and I don't find an answer in the Slack or go to Google Drive, because a lot of people share the same stuff, like some kind of documentation. If I cannot find, then I will ask the questions. Usually that's my like rule of thumb for myself. A lot of people have different approaches, I would assume. So yeah, that's
That's amazing. Thank you very much. And now, this is a moment where I just want to mention in advance that I did not give them this question because I do know when I give them the question, they always prepare. And I wanted to make sure that I catch them by surprise. I mean, I apologize in advance, but this is my question. The theme of this year is progress, not like perfection. And I wanted to see or to hear from all of you what that means. And can you share with our audience today? We can start with Ida.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I mean, honestly, I didn't prepare to any of your questions. Sorry. To this question, I love this theme a lot, progress, not perfection, because as a high goal achiever person myself, the one that strikes to get and cross off all the goals and then all the to-do lists, to-do items in my list and so on. Progress is something that I've struggled a lot, and that I would beaten myself up for, like, and then there's always an external forces that no matter how hard you try, you cannot do anything about that. For example, immigration process. No matter how hard you try to submit everything on time and so on, guess what? It's just gonna take. It may not happen this year, not next year, and so on. So, and I would obviously be upset about that a lot, and it was not doing any good for my mental health, most importantly. And what I learned is to track the progress. So I nerded out a little bit when it comes to task management, personal task management and so on. And I'm like, I don't want to track the check off marks. I would rather track the progress, because even the 40% this year is still better than the 0% for me. And I want to see that visual. I'm also a visual person. I'd like to see that progress. If there's no check mark, I would rather see that progress, bar happening. So that's where I started learning and understanding the importance of the progress that affects my mental health, most importantly. So that's what I feel like.
A round of applause. I love that answer. Thank you very much for sharing. Pauline, do you want to take it up next?
I'll take that next. So I'll start with I recently picked up painting, and so when I was starting out, I would be, when you're still so bad at something, you don't want to actually even do it. So I would be trying to look up inspiration to paint, to draw, and then I just remembered this one video I saw online. So the guy is talking about, he does animation, and then he says, like, animation and other things just like life. It's like when you have a clean piece of paper and you want to start drawing, the moment you start drawing or writing something, already it's no longer a clean piece of paper. So, and sometimes you're holding on to actually starting the process because you want to, when you put a pen on it, it's perfect. But rarely is it like you put your pen on the paper and it's already perfect. It's great if that's going to be the case, but sometimes it's not. Like the same case with painting, like I have learned to be okay with the process. Last thing I'm going to attach to this question, I'm reading Atomic Habits right now. And one thing he says is how we are so fixated on the goal, which is great, but sometimes we forget about the systems that get us to those goals. And I think for me right now, trying to look at progress is me trying to understand what steps get me to that thing. If it's learning something and it's hard, I'm like, these are steps that take me to this place where I'll be like, oh, I know so much about things, I'm so confident about it. So I think it's like everything with work, with life, with painting, it's all small steps. It's okay, it's part of the process. We'll get there.
That's amazing. A round of applause for our lady. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Claire.
Yeah, that's really great, Pauline. I wish I could do that better. I'm very much like you, a perfectionist, so it's very hard for me to see the progress and not be frustrated that I haven't reached the goal yet. And I think one of the things that helps me kind of through that is like remembering that when you're in the midst of something, it's like painful, it's hard, and it hurts because you're not perfect at it yet, right? Like with painting, it's like you just kind of have to embrace the suckiness, right? Understand that like it's going to be hard, but then I don't know, when I think back on the things that were once hard, they're like usually easy, like starting a new job. I'm like, I don't know anything. This is hard. Like nothing makes sense. Everything's weird. But now, like a few years into a job, I'm like, oh, I understand this. This makes sense to me. And so being in the midst of that turmoil, it's like really easy to give up and be like, I just can't do it for me. But remembering that like it will get easier over time is really helpful for me to remember. I also like to just set little goals for myself because like I feel good when I accomplish something. So it's like at the end of every week, I kind of like have a habit of like writing down all the things that I accomplished that week, things I want to think about next week, and like goals for myself for the next week. So then when I come in on Monday, I'm like kind of ready to go, and I have like these small, like tangible pieces that I can attack and feel like I actually accomplished something that week. Because I feel like in engineering, especially, it's easy to kind of like get to the end of the week and be like, what did I actually do? Like, I know I was like busy all week, but like what happened? And kind of like reminding myself of like, oh, I did do things and they provided value is really helpful for me to like feel like I'm making progress, even if it's not done and perfect yet.
That's amazing. A round of applause for her too. And I feel like that question was pretty good because like what you've mentioned, Claire, that is something I do too. Like I do have a doc where like I write down everything every day, especially like in engineering. You need to be able to update what you've done because a 2 week sprint, if you many of us who are in engineering here know that most of us have like a 2 week sprint. It goes by so fast that if you don't document at the end of your review, you'll be confused like, what did I actually do? Like, can I go back and remember the type of work I did? And actually, this helps a lot, especially when you're even having like the manager review, where you can start saying, actually, I did A tangible, B tangible, C, based on the stuff that you've been documenting. So that's a very good tip. I love that. Sure.
So about that, I do as well do daily journaling, weekly, monthly, quarterly. So again, back to that task management system that I built. What I use Notion, which really helps a lot. Just simply like do the daily journaling, and I do roll ups when I see, oh, I see the emotions. I had this kind of emotions. This is interesting. Like daily journaling for me, it's like this is something that I learned during the whole pandemic case, like understanding what's happening. It does help a lot because with Google Docs, usually what happens is like it's not easy to zoom out and see everything in one place. Notion gives that kind of a view, which is really important. And like I was recently, like last week, I did my quarterly review of myself, and I'm like, wow, okay, I see I'm doing something. I am progressing. Like this is awesome. Like this is so cool. So yeah, Notion does help a lot in that case. Or regular Google spreadsheet, Excels, basically. I'm like that kind of person who uses Excels and stuff.
That is pretty nice. Now, I do have another question before we open it up later a little bit for Q&A. And this question mainly is, it does feel like we are coming out of the pandemic, but not sure that we are coming out. So we are in between there because like now we are very privileged to be meeting here. This is my third in-person meetup. We did one, I know. So we did one where we had a small group, and then yesterday we had another one, and now today. So I'm pretty happy about this. And I do know we still have fears. Now, our next topic or question is going to be more towards what trends and like especially during the pandemic, what trends do you plan to keep moving forward and which ones do you plan on dropping? For instance, for me, I feel like the trend that I picked up was like to always add everything to my calendar, because for some reason if I don't add it I will not remember it. I don't know if it's everybody who feels like that. Oh, cool. So everybody is good. So that is one trend that I'm keeping moving forward, because it's so, even my kids, I have 2 kids, 2 boys, and I make sure that every event, even their school events, it's on the calendar, because if it's not, I'll forget and I'll feel guilty about it. So what are the trends that you plan on bringing forward?
That is a really good question. I do put everything in my calendar as well, including the calls with my parents and sisters. Because I want to make sure I don't forget to call them, because there could be days, weeks pass by when I don't call them. So I'm that kind of person. And then again, back to what I learned and I wanna keep doing is that task management system that I built. It's really helpful, and it kind of gives me more calm. Like I don't have any more anxiety. So because of the pandemic, right, all the situation, what I learned is I've become more anxious about something. I don't know about what, like just in general, I was so anxious. And I started journaling, helped me a lot, to review and reflect on my day, on my week. And in the beginning, I used to spend 4 hours writing my weekly review of myself, which was insane, right? Like you would think like, why would anyone do 7 7 days and I spend 4 hours, just not effective. But then I got used to it. Now I do like in 2 hours, like reflecting what happened, what can I do next week, what can be done better. And then I want to keep that trend because it's amazing for me, like understanding, like, it again helps me a lot with my mental health. And I do find it really enjoying. And then another trend that I've picked up during the pandemic, I've learned to separate work and life. In the beginning of pandemic, we blended in everything. And there were days, weeks, months when I would have my Slack laptop open until 11, 12 p.m., like midnight, and I'd be working there all day long. So what I learned is that work can and will happen without you. Trust me. There is no urgent email, no urgent Slack that needs to be replied, even though if someone is on the other side of the world. There is nothing urgent about that. It can wait until your next morning. That's why I always close my laptop at 6 p.m. I don't have Slack notifications on my phone. I actually deleted Slack on my phone. So, and then no email as well on my phone. That's something that I want to keep.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. I feel like that is something. The Slack one, yes, I need to do that too. Because I feel like I don't know why I have it on my phone.
Notifications. Make sure to turn off notifications.
Yes. Claire, you're next.
Yeah, I wish I had the guts to do that. Should. Yeah, my thing that was really important for me, and this is gonna sound silly, but was to always just get dressed in the morning when I'm working from home. Like, gotta wear jeans, just gotta do it, and then I feel like I'm ready for the day, and like more of a person. So that's really helpful for me. And I was gonna, not as good as you, but like separating work and life. Like I have my work area, and when I walk away from that work area, like it's chill, and I'm done with work. And I think that that's really important for me because it's so easy when you're at home and you're working from home. It's like I'm just always at work rather than, having that delineation. I think is super important. And like I think one of the nice things about this was, at least at Betterment, we have a much more like hybrid work environment, which has been really nice. It can kind of help you prioritize the things that are important. So I have a new baby, and it's like really nice to know that I can work from home, and then I can like pick him up from daycare like right when I'm done, and I don't have to worry about a commute. And so like being able to continue working from home is really wonderful. And I think you just get like a really good picture of people's lives that you're working with when you're working from home, because they're closer to the things that they find important. And so I feel like I can more easily connect with my coworkers over the things going on in their lives, which I think is really great. And I hope to continue doing that.
I love that. Really.
For me, I'm that engineer, but I think I ended up having to rely on a process. Is it a process? So during the pandemic, it was much easier during the pandemic. I would say I want to do this. I'll wake up at this time. I'll go for my walk. I'll read. So I wanted to do those things that are me specific before I got into those things that are me at work specific. So, and I felt much better at going to work, which is right in my house, after I have done things that were specific to me. So it doesn't feel like this part of who I am is fully taking over. So the one thing I learned during the pandemic actually is to, and not to sound like one thing or the other, but I think I'm more focused on the entirety of who I am. Because even if work was doing so well, and personally on the side I wasn't doing so well, like I would feel so bad if I haven't read in a long time, and I'll be like, oh, I need to read. I'll be like, I need to finish this work, go read. So if I read before I go to work, I'm like, okay, everything is going as it should. So having things that are important to me to do and keeping track with those things. I think right now I'm still trying to, what things are important to me? X, Y, Z. Have I done X, Y, Z? Yes. Because if I don't do Z out of those X, Y, Z, 2 things will be good, but I still feel like but. So I don't want to have that but.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And I feel like Now that you mentioned that, one of the hobbies that I picked was to make sure that I spend so much time with my kids. And I also log off my laptop every lunchtime and take like 1 hour, 30 minutes break. Like that is very important. Because like you've mentioned, Ida, it can be very consuming that you might be in your laptop the entire day without even knowing that you need to take a break because nobody is there to tell you take a break. But when you're working in the office, it's pretty easy for somebody to just tell you, hey, let's go grab lunch together. So, yes, that is something that definitely we look forward to keeping moving forward. And now, as you mentioned that, before we get into a Q&A, I had two more questions. And I feel like these are pretty important because this is something that's always spoken about a lot, especially if you're in technology. And it's more of, do you have a mentor and do you need a mentor? Because I feel like it's for me, I feel like it's very important to have somebody you can look up to whenever you're stranded, because we all get stranded. It's pretty tough out here, especially if you're an engineer. It's pretty tough. It's not easy. So yeah, I'm gonna start back at you, Pauline. Do you have a mentor and do you mentor?
I do on both sides. And it's on both sides because I've previously looked up to people who I thought had not gone through the same path as I had. And and then I ended up looking up to people who had gone through my path, and it felt like it's never the exact same path, but similar paths. And I would more relate to, and they would also more relate to my experiences. So I have mentors who I rely on, and I also try to see people who are probably trying to do things that I'm doing, or just people I see and I'm like, okay, you like cliche, but oh, you like coding, okay. Oh, all those things. Yeah. So it's like trying to, as others are trying to mentor me, and I'm also like trying to do my bit. And it's very important, even at work. I know you didn't mention that, but maybe for the other people, as you're answering that, I know there's having mentors, and then there's having what's the other one? It's not a coach. It's like somebody who can a sponsor. Yeah, it's like having to think of just that, because like my mentors cannot. Sometimes they're not people who are actually in the rooms I want people to be in speaking for me. So sometimes you need to have like all those bits like covered.
Amazing. That's a pretty interesting perspective that I had. Claire.
Great. Yeah, mentorship is so important. I have a mentor and I have mentored people. And yeah, I think one of the things that feel pretty strongly about is that like anybody can mentor somebody. You don't have to be like some, big hotshot who like has it all figured out, because no one has it all figured out. And there's always somebody who can benefit from your perspective. And so like don't be afraid to like mentor somebody. Because it's not that scary. But it's so helpful for the person that you're talking to and helping with their problems. And so yeah, mentor. But also get one. Because it's great to have somebody who you feel like sees you kind of like for your whole person and can help you figure out those problems that are hard to solve in isolation because they feel bigger than you. Whether that's a technical challenge or a just like workplace challenge, right? It's great to be able to feel comfortable with somebody who can like give you a better perspective than maybe you can see from where you sit. Yeah.
Amazing. Ida, do you have a mentor or do you mentor?
Nowadays, I do both. But interestingly enough, because I'm not the most social person in the room ever, I never had a mentor up until last year. So the only time I got last year mentor through Women Developer Academy program. That was the first time I've had a mentor in my life, because until then I never had any mentors. And something remotely close to idea of having a mentor was me looking up to those engineers in the community. Like in my case, it was Android community. So I would just look up to them and check like, their code base, how they grow, their talks and so on. That was the only, like, that was a way for me to learn from them, right? So that was the one thing. And previously in my fintech job in the investment bank, they would all talk about mentorship, sponsorship, and then all this networking that you have to do, have a coffee chat. And I always thought, I'm like, oh my God, how do people do that? How do people do that? It is a skill just to come up to someone, say, hey, how are you doing? Like, let's have a coffee chat. I'm like, I always found it really interesting. Like, I guess, especially in American workplace, and like, you can just go and say, can I have a coffee chat with you? That's just bold. It's a bold move to do. And maybe because of that, I never had any kind of mentor, but now I have, and I do feel just having someone that you can talk. So she's not from my community, but at least, like we can talk out and I discuss all that stuff related to career, and then talking just what happened in a day, in a week, does really help, and then give advice and then take advice and from her, which is important. Just simply having that kind of connection. So learning from me, make sure be bold enough and ask people for coffee, and then that's where you're going to be asking, like, become mentor. It's important to have that kind of person because they will share their perspective, like it might be different from yours, but you'll learn a lot from it as well too. And I do mentor high school students, and then other people, basically.
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing, everyone. Thank you very much. I feel like this was very great for me because I've gotten to learn from all of you amazing ladies. And I'm very, very thankful for Betterment for sponsoring this event and also for all of you taking your time coming here today. I mean, I don't even have words like to say how I feel. I do have one last question before we dive into our Q&A. I know that face. Sorry. Yes, I do have one last question, and it's pretty easy. I want to know: do you have a quote that you live by? And the reason as to why I ask this is as a woman take maker, we do have this book, A Great Women, a, a book about women quotes. If you have it, I have it, and I feel like I live by those quotes. I look at that book every day and just go through all amazing women and their quotes and just say, "Oh my God, I resonate with this. I resonate with this." So, do you have any quote you live by?
Okay.
Sure.
I'm going to be the first one. That's a tough one because I didn't prepare. Well, the only quote that comes to my mind is, how about we circle back? On this
Progress, not
question,
perfection, is a quote too.
I'm gonna say calm down is the thing that I have not met a problem that can't be solved by calming down and taking a step back and being like, here's a better perspective. Here's like when my head is cool and I have like taken it all in and I'm not like feeling overwhelmed in the moment. I have a lot better abilities to do everything, and that works in life too. Outside of work, just like it's embroidered next to my bed. Calm down, because it's just good to like have a better perspective on life, and not get all worked up. Yeah.
I love that. Calm down. I love it.
I don't have a quote, but the one thing, there is something I go off. So I started with saying like embracing the package, and which also explains that I'm not a perfectionist myself. Used to be. So I'm more of an embrace the process type of person. And remember previous processes you've gone through, and you're like, oh, I went through that. I could go through this. I learned that. I can learn this, which kind of makes things easier to go through.
So you're a go-getter. I love that. And do you want to give us?
Okay, so it was so quick I didn't have a time to think, but one note on the quote in general, like especially it comes from my early days when I guess it's a youth maximalism, when I was young and used to be like kind of a hot-headed person, come to conclusions very quick, very fast, which later on learn not to do that anymore. For anything in life in general, just 48 hours do not think, do not come to conclusions on any process, whether it's going to be something on news, whether it's going to be something on social media you saw, whether it's going to be your talk with your manager. Always just have that poker face for 48 hours, and then you'll see more information unloads. That's something that I always say people.
Thank you very much. And that marks the end of our panel discussion today. I am very grateful for everybody that came. Again, I'm just going to say thank you again to both of you. Yeah, sure. Thank you. And now the floor is open for our Q&A session. If you have a question, please just raise your hand and I'll bring the mic to you. Ooh, cool. Oh, I love that. This is amazing. Now it's my turn to stand up. So you raise your hand first. You're going to go first.
Hi, my name is Gina. My question is for Claire. I was just curious, what boot camp did you do?
Yeah, great blazer to start off with.
I
Love
can't
it.
hear you.
Oh, sorry. Nope, it is. Hi. I went to the Flatiron School. They had, I don't know if they still have the mobile program, but they have several others.
Looked at a few different, of these, and they vary in, price and also duration. So I was just interested. And thank you.
Of course.
And she said, great blazer.
That's what I said.
That's
Looks
very
great.
true. I love it. And we have our next. Here, you raise your hand.
Yeah, great blazer.
Hi, my question is for Ada. So I heard that you pivoted from finance to tech. So what's the most rewarding part of that pivoting? Like, what do you like most about the change?
Most about the change from finance to tech?
Yeah.
Both industries are really interesting and I love them a lot, both because both of them comes with different challenges, right? It's important. And not to mention a different culture, because there's an element of culture that ends up being imprinted in you for at least a couple of years and months after you quit the job, right? So that's very interesting stuff. And what I like, it's tough. I guess in the finances, I learn a lot about networking. I learn how to do networking in theory. In practice, not so much. That's where I am now in social media, where I'm practicing that networking, part.
You're kind of the same. I'm in finance as well. Yeah, I agree with you.
Awesome.
Awesome. I love it. I'm going to go to the next question over here. Sure. Coming over.
Hi, my name is Rose. The question I had is how, for all three of you ladies, right? How did you transition from just an engineer into a more senior position? And what skills did you need to develop in order to do so?
I love that question.
Okay, mic on me. Let me start on that. So that is a really great question. There's one advice I want to share, and it's something that comes from, again, being from culture, right? Of being an Asian, being quiet, putting head down and learning stuff. The most important thing is you really have to ask your manager, literally. Speak up and ask. Like the way how I approached, I had this one-on-ones in the beginning of the year, like right before all this, the promotion stuff happened. And I told him, not right before, right after the promotion for that year, for the next year, I straight up asked my manager that I would like to become a vice president. What are the steps I should take to get there? How can you and I make it happen? Just blank, straightforward questions. And so that's important stuff because managers nowadays, they're overloaded. They have a lot of engineers to take care, and they don't know what's going on in every engineer's mind because not every engineer is keen to get promoted. And not every engineer thinks about that. And another thing is pick up the projects, be the driver of the projects. It's important not just to make and create one task, but drive entire project on your own. That's what really helps a lot. And it shows basically in your review as well.
Yeah, that was a really good answer. It was good. I would echo a lot of what you're saying, right? It's like important to understand clearly what the steps are for you to get to whatever you want to be at. And a lot of that is like conversations with your manager, but it's also useful to have like conversations like that with your peers, where you're kind of like understanding like what, like what are we both kind of working towards and how can we hold each other accountable to getting there. And I think finding those opportunities, at least something that was like really useful for me, was putting myself in situations where I wasn't completely comfortable, but knew that I had whatever safety nets I needed in place in order to be more comfortable in those roles. So having a mentor or sponsor, somebody who is helping you get those opportunities and then helping guide you to success in them. So you're not kind of like left flailing, but you're in that uncomfortable spot and you're growing those muscles while still being supported. I think it's super important.
I am still working my way to seniority.
You got this. Any more questions? Oh, cool.
I kind of wanted to know what was like the toughest part throughout your journey for your career, just point blank in general. This goes to all of you.
Thank you.
Who wants to start?
Okay, I'll go first. I think previously I wasn't such a good student. That's even after going through college. And it's not like when I study I won't understand things. I just wanted things to really be the goal, like that, and which made the process of most things I was doing so frustrating. And I remember sometime last year I was talking to somebody and I was telling her how I was still getting work done, but I wasn't. But it's like something is missing. I know work won't make me happy, but something was missing. And I was telling her how I would take time to get things done, and I would feel like I'm still getting things done, but. And then she told me, you just need to be a better student. You need to allow yourself to learn. And the moment I allowed myself to learn, it's not like things got easier all of a sudden, but
Yeah.
I think I'm more okay with the learning process now. That
Amazing.
was such a challenge for me, honestly. But I'm still there's still places where I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'm still learning. And then I go back to, it's a process. But that was such a challenge. Like even after going through school, and it's just like, okay, can things be faster? But I'm trying to be, they can be slower sometimes.
I really love. Sorry to cut you off. I really love that answer because it resonates with me too. Where learning, especially being in Android, it feels like you're always learning new things. And I got that question because I do host like spaces every Friday. And one of the questions that I got is, how do you stay motivated when we have so much to learn in this field? And you have kids and you have other obligations and you get tired. Like now there's a new framework, Jetpack Compose, you have to learn. And one thing that came to my mind is that, like Pauline said, you have to be willing to learn. It's not an easy industry. So it's always about the learning process. So once you align your mind to, you've signed up to a lifetime of learning, it becomes easier. So that whenever you see something new, you take it as a challenge to, whenever you got time, you learn it. And I do want to appreciate our company. We get something like 10% time. I do know many companies offer that learning process where you have like 10%, or I think it's called differently in different companies. Maybe Ida can speak about it, or Claire, where you get time to learn new things. And I found that to be pretty nice because it really helps you jump into that learning that you seek and you want to. Yep. Sorry, my panelists, go on.
Oh, okay. The toughest part happened recently during the pandemic. something I've discovered I'm not good at it, which was communications. More specifically, the toughest part was about cross-platform communications when, as an tech lead for Android, you really have to communicate with different teams like product designers, QA, on the projects themselves, like on the projects. That's where I found it a hard time, honestly. There was a lot of back and forth because people used to do things, used to old processes. What I learned is working there that old processes did not really benefit Android team because we were mostly remote and most of the team was in Europe. And one of the things that I started doing is to implement new processes. And with new processes, people usually not happy with the changes. There is a lot of resistance comes within the team and in between the teams, obviously. So that's where I think it was like toughest times in my life learning. It was a huge learning curve. When I thought Android development learning was something big, or Java, right? Nope. The cross-platform communication was the biggest learning curve I've done in my life. Like a lot of learning there.
Amazing.
Really good. I think something that I've struggled with throughout my whole career is reminding myself that I am an engineer, and that like nobody's gonna like figure out that I'm not actually an engineer and like they accidentally hired me. But like it sounds silly, but like imposter syndrome is so real. Like when you're in a position or a room where you're kind of like the only person who's like you, it's easy to kind of like look at everybody else and be like, they're the engineers and like I'm just trying to convince them that like I'm here too. But like reminding myself that like no, I'm capable of doing this job is something that like I kind of have to do every day. And yeah, hopefully it gets easier, but like just remembering like no, I have a right to be here. They didn't make a mistake. And like what I'm adding is valuable is I think important.
I love that. Oh, we do have another question. Ooh, I love this.
Hi, ladies. I have really enjoyed your shares and your complexities through COVID. And while it was uncertain for so many of us, we went through a lot of hardships. But I want to ask you one thing. Who has been your inspiration? And, as a woman myself and having two daughters myself, I think inspiration and gratitude is very important. So as you continue your journey, I wanted to find out, who's been that integral part of you and why, and how that has shaped your journey today to make you the most amazing, people that you are. So.
Thank you, Ruchi, for asking that question because I did not tell her. It was in my list, but we didn't get through it, and I love it. Who wants to go first?
That's a really hard question. I think it's really wonderful to have something that is an inspiration. And I think for me that changes. It's not necessarily been consistent throughout my life or even the past 2 years. But I would say, I guess what motivates me on a day-to-day basis is my my husband and my son. I think knowing that I have a great support system in my spouse and just like an awesome little being that I'm helping to shape his life feels like pretty important thing and something that definitely gets me out of bed at 5 in the morning when he's crying. So Pauline.
I don't have like a specific person I would attach to. It's changed depending on where I am in life, and but it's the trend has been these are people who either I can see myself in, or I see some sort of similarity in whether where I am and where they've been or the journeys they're going through. In high school, there was this lady who went to college. I went to high school in Kenya, and she went to this school somewhere in the US. And at that point, she's a person that was like, oh, she went to my high school. That is something I would want to see myself to. So she's still doing great. But currently, while I'm in tech, there are people that I look at and I'm like, oh, they're this and that. Oh, I relate to that. And so previously I've seen Madonna do other events before. And I was just thinking, okay, I'm that person who, yes, I do this, but it would be great if I can master and pull myself together and actually, be somewhere and speak and talk to people. You see, it's been like different people at different stages. And I'm guessing it's going to be a different group of people in the next stage. If I'm to become a mother tomorrow, it's going to be other mothers that I see who are doing XYZ things. And I'll be like, okay, that mom is doing great. I'll be like, yeah.
I love that. Either.
I resonate a lot with you, Pauline. Similar for me, most of the time it was all about, okay, so who is doing like 2 steps better, like where like 2 steps better where I want to go, like in my own transition. And what I noticed is that it changes a lot, like the same way for longest since elementary school, I've struggled a lot with English, struggled a lot with my native language. And I thought like one day I want to learn, I want to be able to speak, like, but guess what? Finally speaking. And then
Yeah.
I wanted to learn tech, really wanted to get to mobile development. I really wanted to be, want to create and contribute a lot to open source. That was something that I've been like cherishing myself, because I know in our community, a lot of people contribute to open source, and I really wanted to do something myself too. So that step done, right? Because I saw, if I'm going to bring it up names, there are a lot of like developers, awesome developers in the Android community in general, like great developers that I'm really grateful, because they've made our lives easier by creating a lot of libraries that we use on a daily basis. And then there were moments when I was like, I want to be courageous enough to speak in English about tech, on the stage. What can I do? So basically, similar with Pauline, it was always been different people. So I'm really grateful. I think most importantly that inspires me is community. Finding that community, even though you're not in the center of that community, just being part of that community, it's so important. That's what actually inspires me a lot.
Thank you very much. I just want to mention, because this is a hybrid event, we have questions from our online viewers. So I know, we thought we were done, but we're not done. And we have a great question coming in from online. So, Anna.
So the IT team worked very hard to make this a true hybrid event. And we'd like you to hear somebody ask a question online and be live in New York. Linda, would you make Kali a presenter so she could ask the question?
Hello.
We hear you. Where
Hi,
are you,
ladies.
Kali?
Hello. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I really enjoyed listening to each of you and hearing your stories and your experiences. And what I really wanted to know is, what would you consider the most? I got to hear a lot of your struggles and what y'all have been through, but what would you consider the most rewarding parts of what you do, and what keeps you motivated each day to keep doing what you do in your careers?
Thank you very much. I love that question. Who's going to go first?
I guess I can go. Uh, what motivates me, what rewarding, and motivates me most is the fact that we are software engineers and we are in a better position than most people in the world. So that's the most important stuff that I am grateful every day. Like every time when I look back to this transition, I'm so grateful that I've chosen this path and been building my career there because it gives so much flexibility. The flexibility is something that not a lot of people have in the world. So that's what really motivates me and keeps me going.
I think one of the things that I feel really lucky about is I have really awesome coworkers. I think everybody that I work with here is really just wonderful and genuine. And so getting to work with those people each day really motivates me. I think if I didn't have that, it would be really hard to come to work every day and feel motivated to do a good job and support my team and feel like I'm part of something is really great. And I appreciate that.
So I'm personally very motivated by looking back at what we've done and what we've achieved. And I also have calls with my manager and looking at previously these have been the challenges, but currently new challenges, but we went through those. Like seeing the progress that has been made really makes me think we have issues now, but those are also issues we can solve. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if we don't have any more questions, I think we'll be wrapping up. And okay, the raffle.
The prizes. You're welcome. So I want to introduce Carolina Castro. We met at IWD at Google as attendees at IWD. And this week we are organizing ourselves, 3 of them.
Hi, everyone. I didn't make it to the beginning, but hopefully we get to chat afterwards. I am a program manager at Google. I'm helping to manage our GDG, Google Developer communities all around the US and Women Techmakers. So super excited to be based here and hopefully get to work with this amazing team to create more opportunities like this for us to come together, connect, learn more, network, continue growing in our careers, professionally and personally. So super pumped to just be here and thank you for coming out. And also just want to thank everyone who's contributed to making this event such a success. Thank you so much. I know we also have the CTO as well, so thank you for being here. It's always really amazing to have, leaders within the company just coming out and showing their support as well to the staff. It really just makes that come to life, right? To see that support in person. So thank you for being here. We need more of that, right? Fusion and collaboration. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Be sure to subscribe to GDG New York City to stay up to date with the events that are going to be happening in the area, and hopefully I'll see you at future events. And Sequoia too, thank you so much for being here. There's another amazing person on our team who helps with the Women Techmakers program. So for all the women in the room, if you are looking to, if you're also a woman in tech or, tech adjacent, we have this amazing program that provides resources and great, network of women in tech that you could be a part of to organize events like this, champion for more resources for women in tech. And so we currently have applications open for that. Happy to chat more about that. You could chat with Sequoia or me about it. So yeah, let's get more women in tech, making money, thriving, living our best lives. Thank you, everyone. Now on to raffles.
So you have a few more minutes or seconds. We have a lot of great images and thoughts shared already with the hashtag. But if you haven't had a chance, please do it now. Linda, are you able to spin the wheel or do you want me to do it? Okay, I think I'll take care of this. Let's refresh.
I wasn't aware that I have to do it, but
It's up to
So-
you. It's totally up to you.
So now the focus is online. The wheel is right here. Not that, not everybody can see it, but everybody online can see it. Do you want to share your screen, Linda?
Okay. Give me just one moment to prepare the wheel and I will share my screen. It's just I wasn't prepared for this. Okay,
Let's do that. Yeah.
1 second.
So this is our way to select a winner. You can choose Android Developer Exam Certificate voucher if you're into that. If you're already an Android engineer, you can choose something from the Google Store, anything. One price $150 and one price $100. And
Okay, I'm searching for the hashtag. 1 second.
IWD Betterment.
Mm-hmm. 1 second.
But please present so we can see you here in the room.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Share screen. I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yay, that's fantastic. Yes, we can see the screen and we can see the username.
We take off the GDG NYC.
GDG NYC can go. Without the price.
Okay. Let's see.
Everybody else is fair game.
I can take myself off. I don't want to be there. 1 second.
Well, thank you for tweeting.
Yeah, that of course. But Control Z. 1 second. I don't know what I'm doing. It's not working, my mouse. Control Z. Do it this way. Okay. So I think we should be good now.
Okay. Click.
How many times do we have to spin and for what we spin?
First prize, $150 Android certificate or Google Store item.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going.
Yay, we have a winner at Nandana S. Is she here? Who?
Trying to open.
Yay!
Oh, it's there in the room. I'm
Yes.
I'm saving the names. Anyways. Oh. Remove. Next.
Let's interview the winner a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Are you an Android engineer?
I'm a data analyst.
Okay. We'll get in touch about your prize. You have choices. Okay. Fantastic. The second prize is $100 gift card or Google Store goodies. So,
Okay, I'm
Linda, you're on. Andrew Werb. Andre Werb. ANDREWERB.
Yeah.
He's virtual. Okay, that's a fantastic split right there. One virtual, one physical winner.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. This was so fun.
Are we done with the wheel or we still have to spin?
Linda, I think we're done.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Linda. Everybody applause
You're
for
welcome.
Linda. Yay!
Thank you. And
Thank you.
congratulations for the winner.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for coming and just mingle, have some food.
Yes.
And thank you, Betterment, for having us here.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much, our panelists. I am very honored for you coming and speaking to us. It's grateful. Thank you all. And if you want to connect with them, please take your time, connect with them, find where they are on Twitter, mostly Twitter, I think. I know she does pretty good videos on Android, on TikTok. Please, you can connect if you want to do Android. Yeah. Yeah. I'm putting you on spot. Sorry. Yeah, what's that in? She's yeah, cool. I- yes, I love them. They're pretty awesome. I know I didn't tell her I watched them, but I watch them all the time. They're very funny. Thank you all. Sure.
So, guys, we have a request. We wanted to include you in a group photo in front of the Betterment sign that's right up in the front. So, just if you guys could just come on over there real quick, we're just going to take one quick photo. Thank you so much. Thank you. And the engineers, too, please.